Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Hey, good morning, badass.
Good morning. Did you have a wonderful Halloween?
I did. We celebrate Halloween where I go around trick-or-treating, which is always the Saturday before. But yesterday we had some fun, and then Jenna did some tarot card readings. So it was a great Halloween.
That's awesome.
How about you guys? I know you guys love Halloween.
We love it, and it's very much a family tradition at our house. We go all out. We get something new, at least one thing new each year. This year I got it was a beautiful sign that had psychic readings on it, and it glowed. So we had that in one of the coffins. And then Jay got this enormous 7-foot, I feel like, plus butler. We called him Lurch. And what we discovered is he not only has multiple things he says, like he'll say, "You remind me of my mother. Maybe it's your mustache," and and then he says all these things. But we found this lever that it changed, and it did it in French, it did it in German, it did it in Dutch, it did it in all these different languages. So he was like, "Bonjour,"
That's amazing.
Oh, we had no idea, but it's a very automated animatronic that when you go up next to it, it automatically just goes off. So you don't have to press a button or anything.
That's awesome. I love that. So you guys had some fun with that, and I assume scared some people.
Oh, we very much scared people. So I should have had a picture of myself to be able to show this morning, but what I had on, I was the bride of Frankenstein. And so my hair was like up and like weird. And like I teased it high and had so much hairspray and so much tease in it. And then I had a white dress, but it was sort of dirty. It's dirty down on the bottom, and it's longer than I am. So it's a little bit longer. And then I put white paint on my face and on, all over me. And then I did black eyes and the little black lines like the Bride of Frankenstein. And so I would sit there and I was just like this. And so I have like dead eyes because it's black around it. And the kids would start to come up the driveway, and then they just like look. They were like, "Why do I feel like something's going to jump at me?" Or "I'm scared," like they would literally say the things they were feeling and just stop in their tracks. Like, "I'm not going up there." And some of the kids would like walk going, "Nope, I'm not going by that." And they go around. And so when they would do things and they'd say things like, I feel like something's going to jump out. I go, "Because I am." And they would be like, "Oh my God." I had someone, I thought it was an adult, but it was like a older teen. Her and her, I guess, younger brother, they screamed bloody murder when I jumped out at them. They just screamed. And we had some that just like all the time just would run back. Jim, our next door neighbor, had the chainsaw. So he'd be behind one of the coffins, and then he'd go, and he'd like come out and and the parents were just loving it. And so
of course,
we just had so much fun just scaring the shit out of kids.
That's what it's all about.
on the younger ones. So Jay's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like Jim went out there, he scared the crap out of a little bit older child, but not really a toddler, like in between, probably about 5, and just started bawling, like wouldn't even come up, was just bawling at the sidewalk. And he's like, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
To them.
That's hilarious.
Oh God.
I love it. My when we trick or treat, Jenna always dresses up. And it varies. I've dressed up in the past. But since we moved into this house, it's like the kids also we're very insistent on us becoming a house that gives away full-size candy bars.
We did that last night, by the way.
Yeah. Yes. And so they that's like that was their dream. And for us, it's very possible because we're in a cul-de-sac, we don't get many trick-or-treaters. Right. So totally works out. But at the same, what?
You're enticing them.
Yes, exactly. We have a fire, like we try to get people to see like, okay, there's fun down here. And so, but I'm also not going to just leave a bucket of full-size candy bars outside and go trick-or-treating with the family. Right. So somebody has to stay here. So it always ends up being me, which is fine because I love it. And then I get to see all the kids. But Jenna, she varies on what she dresses up like, but a lot of times it's pretty spooky. And my dad has always had he doesn't like it very much when she does this. And so he starts prepping himself like a little bit before the past few years. So he was driving Lucas somewhere recently and he said, so your mom's going to be creepy probably, right? And he's like, yeah. Mama Jenna? And he's like, yeah. It's like, okay, all right, well, okay. All right, I'll get ready. And she didn't go that creepy this year. But it's been really funny because when she does and the kids, because we've trick-or-treated in this neighborhood for so many years, they have a little tradition around always going to my mom and dad's house first. Right. So they love it because he'll just kind of back up and make this, all right, he does not like it.
Oh my gosh.
The funniest one though was when Jenna was pregnant with Xavier. So now he's going to be 10 on Sunday. So it's been 10 years, but when she was pregnant with him, because he was born 4 days later, because then we were trick-or-treating in Milwaukee, on the day, she got doll parts from Vinny's and glued them onto her belly with blood around, the baby was coming out. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was insane and people loved it. But Oscar is one of those people that gets scared very easily and is a jump scare. You scare him and he's like, ah! So she called him down and he's coming down the stairs and she's standing in this outfit and she jumps out and he instantly screamed, cried, and laughed all at the same time, fell back. She did it purposely in front of a big beanbag that we had and because she knew he was going to fall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it's a joke we tell, or it's a story we tell every Halloween. Remember when Mama Jenna scared the shit out of Oscar and he flew into the beanbag and started crying and laughing. And he's always like, that was the worst.
Jenna and I would have so much fun together because I love dressing up. My husband, he just wears a boo shirt. It says, I'm here for the booze, and it says BOOZE. But it's so funny. I laughed at him last night. I was like, who has a cooler that is dedicated to Halloween? He has a Halloween cooler because it's Svedka, which is one of the companies that he represents, but it has these eyes. It's black and it has these lines and has ghouly eyes. And I'm like, no one else has a dedicated Halloween cooler.
They store away with the Halloween stuff.
They're it's funny because we have a pumpkin that says Southern Comfort, that's out. So that's one of his products. The coffins we painted over, but they were some type of liquor as well. So, and so we we end up like getting some of this stuff because after he does the displays and things like that for his customers, they're like, I want it out. And Jay's like, okay, I'll take this. I'll use this. And so we get all of these different types of things afterwards. So it's so much fun. We just continue to add to the different things that we have. But Jenna and I would have so much fun just dressing up together. I know that.
Yes. Yeah. She really loves it. And yeah. And this year she just did a simple like skeleton dress. And then when she saw my dad, she's like, I'm going easy on you this year. And he's like, thank you.
Last night we had a friend that came and I happened to be in the garage. We were putting things up, but I was still all dressed up. And I happened to come back out. He was talking to Jim and my husband, and I came up from behind, and I wasn't trying to scare him or anything, but he turned around and he jumped because he saw me. He goes, like, I saw you in the garage. He goes, but when I turned around, I was not expecting you right there.
I knew it was going to happen.
So I was like, oh, I wasn't even trying to like scare you.
I get scared like multiple times a day because I wear my big headphones, while I work, and they can come in and I don't know they're in here. So they touch me and I'm always like, oh, and so they love it.
Jay's the same way. You and Jay have very similar traits. It's funny. Jay is very jumpy, and we went to a Halloween or a haunted house this last weekend, and we had 2 extra kids along with our kids, and Jay was holding on to me for dear life the entire time. And so we had the 2 boys in the front, the 2 girls in the center, and then me and Jay. But Jay is so jumpy. He's like holding on to me the entire time as we're going in. And I'm laughing. I don't get scared. And even whenever like, I don't know. I just don't really get scared. Yeah. I'm like laughing at him. I'm like, oh, you look good. Like, how are you doing? Things like that. I just say the most inappropriate things to them. And the girls are screaming, but Gavin was hilarious. Like Peyton wasn't as scared, but Gavin has a little bit of Jay in him. Like he was getting scared. And then all of a sudden, it's when the chainsaw comes on. That is when Jay cannot handle it. Like he started running, like he left me. He's like, I'm out. And he just started running like, nope, I'm out.
That's hilarious. How does he handle Jim in the yard?
I know. I'm just walking by the guy.
Yeah. Does he get like that when Jim does it in the yard?
No, because he knows that it's him. I don't know what it is, but in a haunted house, there was a previous story. This was before me. This was his first wife and Kennedy. And so she was probably 9, I think, or, somewhere around there. They went to a haunted house, and apparently the chainsaw guy, they were in an old school. He came running across the gym, and Jay pushed everybody aside, like, get the fuck out of my way. And like kids, don't care. Old people, I don't care. He is just pushing everybody aside, and he is just darting. And it's one of the stories that they tell about Jay just being like, nope, I'm out.
I'm going to climb over your small child. I do not care. I need to save myself.
It reminds me, have you ever seen Seinfeld, where I think it's the bald head guy. I can't think of his name.
Kramer? No, Costanza.
Yes, Costanza. He does that. And he ends up getting in trouble. Like, oh no, it's a fire. It's at a party. And he just starts, like pushing everybody away. That's what I imagine it was for Jay, at least.
Yes. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
All right. We got some people coming in. Let's say hello.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with my mom. She said, good morning. You were bad. She posted that whenever I was talking about me scaring people.
Scaring children.
Maria says, morning, ghouls. Oh, and Jay Rose, she says, "Good morning, badass ladies. Happy Friday. I'm on for a hot minute to say hola, but I will have to listen later. Got to get to work. Have a wonderful day. Love you, chicas." So thank
Love
you
you,
for
J-Ro.
joining us, Jen. All right. Well, as you guys join, oh, there's Eric. He says, "Good, badass morning."
Good,
And so
badass morning, Eric.
as you guys come in, let us know that you're here. We just love always hearing from you guys. And today we're actually going to be talking about why recognition matters. And this is something that is really, I think, near and dear to Kate and my heart. It's important for us to show recognition to people in our company, but also we're really good about giving recognition to each other. And just also recognition with your kids. And, so it's not just about employees, but today we're going to be focusing on employees, but you can also apply some of this also to kids and the things that they do as they're growing up as well. So,
yes.
We have also Maya. She says, "Morning loves."
Good morning, Maya.
Amy's here. She said, "Morning, y'all. I'm on my phone, so my comments may be limited. We understand. Thank you for joining us."
Maya was on our show last week with her mom, and it was so delightful. And I had to run right after, so I didn't get to connect more. But man, did I really enjoy her.
I know.
The whole thing. So if you missed last week, it was about foster care. Go check it out.
Yes.
But let's talk about recognition.
Yeah. Well, recognizing employees, one of the things that a lot of times people don't really realize is that it impacts not only how people feel about themselves, but it impacts the business's performance. And that's what really fosters a deeper connection in relationships.
Yeah. So I think I always kind of understood the correlation, right? I mean, happier employees make, do a better job, and that affects the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
But of course, as there are organizations out there that do research on everything. There are people that have been able to kind of wrap some numbers around it, and they're fairly significant. I mean, especially when you think about something as easy as recognition, right? So I don't want to call it simple, and I don't want to call it, because I don't want to trivialize it.
No.
But, recognizing someone isn't hard. It's not a difficult task to do, especially if it's genuine. It comes from the heart, and it's easy to do. And so it's a cool thing to think about how effective an easy thing can be in terms of helping your company grow.
Yeah. And when people feel acknowledged, they experience an increase in motivation and also just an understanding of a sense of purpose. And a lot of times what they found is that it can actually help with emotional healing as well. Because think about some of the other shows that we've done on critical inner voice and things like that. Sometimes people didn't get recognition growing up. And a part of this, as we start to talk about some of these things, it's also getting people to recognize for themselves the things they're doing well. So it's not just about us showing recognition to them. It's getting them to recognize their value, the things that they contribute on, and really equating that to themselves. That's really what it's about in that emotional healing aspect of things.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes some sense. I think, we spend significant, as adults that work full time, this is a lot of our life. Right? And so if you're not feeling recognized or good about what you're spending so much time doing, that's just a bummer. That's not fair. It doesn't feel good. And it certainly doesn't make your life feel better, or because it's a decent percentage of what you're doing, and everyone, work is work, right? And we're here for a purpose, and we're here to support our families and for all sorts of reasons. But it's still a big chunk of our effort and energy in this world that we're putting out every day.
Yeah. And when you think about the business world, most people think about motivators as pay, like how
Right.
much am I going to make? But even sometimes more important is most people are motivated by caring relationships
Right.
and feeling like they're in an environment that they enjoy working in. And
Right.
so when people receive recognition, they then take pride in what they do, and they're more likely to put extra effort in when they're a part of a team and they feel like they're going to be noticed and people are going to appreciate them. So they show up. And so as we start to get into some of the statistics that I had, that as Cate and I were researching this, there was a Gallup study that found that 25% of employees feel they received recognition in the past week. That only 25% received recognition in the past week. And so what they also found is that just by doubling that recognition, it could lead to a 9% increase in productivity, which really translates
Right.
to financial gains for the company. So something
Right.
as simple as recognition. But the reason that those things were important, why the motivator of the pay, going beyond that in the intrinsic factors of they want enjoyment of their work. So they like what they do. And then positive relationships, they like the people that they
Right.
work with. And
Right.
then they also have a sense of purpose. So they see a meaning and a purpose in their efforts. So when we start to think about recognition, it's one of the things that I always identified a part of the company. And it's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why back in, in 2020, and it was something I always tried to do with individuals. But one of the things that I recognized is that we needed to come to create a little bit more of a sense of community. And so
Mhm.
I started what was called the virtual water cooler. And one of the reasons I created it is because a part of the pandemic, people were feeling sort of separated even more
Right.
so. And so we had the added pressure of now our families living, being with us as well and doing work. So it was to try to find a way that, one, how can we recognize people outside of their work? So people would start posting like, hey, take a look at my kids, or, here are some things that I'm doing. So it was the recognition of the personal side of them. It was also a way that we could recognize people as they were doing things and saying, hey, on that webinar, here are the things that I really liked about it. This is where you excelled. And I think that's important. It's not just like good job. It's specifically how it is that someone makes an impact on your life, or thank you so much. You have really helped me in what it is I'm doing. And we're showing that we also have a caring community amongst
Yeah.
our people willing to step up as well. And that's actually one of the other things they found.
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a few takeaways there, right? Like, so even if you are in a virtual setting, you can do this virtually too. You can create a platform for your colleagues or your employees to recognize each other and to feel, recognized when something good happens, right? Um, and so that's the water cooler, I think, page that you created in our Teams chat is a perfect example of that. And I think, we're all, since 2020, Full Sail Partners was virtual forever. But,
Yeah.
Since 2020, there's more of us working virtually. There are people back in offices, but there's a lot more virtual workers out there. And I think making sure that there are ways to feel still recognized is very key and significant. And then you think about a week time frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feeling recognized each and every week, I think that is probably a gap for some people, right? I think sometimes as managers or leaders, we are looking for those big projects or those big moments to recognize rather than finding a way to look kind of in between the lines, because there's a lot of things that are happening to get to those big moments. There's also everyday work that we all have. And we can also just recognize the hard work rather than the aha moment or the ta-da, one thing we've tried to do with our kids, and I think it's really important for parents to think about this as well, because it's a common thing for us to say to our kids, like, oh, you're so smart. You're so smart. Look at you. You're so smart, right? Well, when you have kids that also have varying degrees of intelligence, maybe for cognitive issues, right? And just everyone has their strengths in certain areas. Smart, isn't really a fair measurement, right? So what we try to do is recognize the hard work. Like, look how hard you're working on this. You are such a hard worker, because being a hard worker that's huge, right? If you're a hard worker, you can accomplish so much. And so we try to recognize that with our kiddos, but I think we can probably, as leaders, do a better job of recognizing all the hard work that happens in between those big ta-da moments, right?
I think that's a very important point. And real quick, I'm going to say hello to Lisa. She says, happy Friday, everyone. And then I'm going to bring up Maya's comment, because it really goes into a lot of what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really significant in relationships too. When I was in the thick of our blended family and my daughter's anorexia, my husband sometimes would send a text randomly that really made me feel seen and appreciated. It strengthened me in a time that I needed that it to get through some days. And I was going to say, it's along the lines of what you're saying, Kate. Sometimes just a simple thank you, like, thank you for everything that you do.
Yes.
When you hear that, just that simple thing, it doesn't have to be like, hey, you did a really good job at this. It's sometimes just thanking people. I do this all the time with my husband, because he does a shitload around the house. And I try to almost every day tell him something like, thank you so much for, like, even just the meal that he made, this is really amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for making dinner, or thank you for doing all the shit that you do, you do.
Uh-huh.
And so, because that's what makes people, that recognition of being seen is really what it's about. So it doesn't have to be like, hey, good job,
Right.
That type of thing. It's just the appreciation is recognition.
Yeah, exactly. We try to do that with our kids as well, and each other. So we're really big on that around here, thanking each other and noticing, because we all are a team, and we have to be, in order to really make things go smoothly. So even though the kids get an allowance for their chores, right? And we also, so jobs have a certain value associated to them in our household, but there's also jobs that you just have to do because you live here and because we have internet and cell phones and other items, right, that all require money to keep going. So, there's jobs that everyone has to do that they get paid for, but there's jobs that we just have to do because we live here. But we are, we try to always say thank you, no matter what, and I think it makes them feel a little better about it when we notice, and say, it's not just like, hey, good job, you get your allowance. It's like, thanks for doing those dishes. Yes. I know what a pain in the ass. There was a lot of dishes tonight because we made, a huge meal, and you took care of it, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I think it's huge. It's one of the things I also do with my daughter is after she does the dishes, I will thank her. I'll say, thank you for doing that. And just because I don't know what it is, but people don't want to feel like they're forced to have to do something because they're more adamant to not want to do it.
Right.
So it's one of the things that my husband and I are a little bit different on. My husband's like, no, she should, just fucking do it because I said so. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I also recognize how emotionally and how psychologically people don't really, like if I told you, well, yeah, you're supposed to do the fucking laundry, if I did that to you, how are you going to feel?
Right. Yeah.
No, like I'm like, thank you so much. Yes,
Right.
I will help you, do this. And sometimes I'll jump in and I'll help her, with doing it as well.
Mhm.
And so, and then I always try to thank her, just because I find that then when I ask her the next time, I'm like, hey, can you do the dishes for me? She does it because I appreciate her doing it.
Right.
I don't expect it of her. And I think that that's the biggest difference as we're thinking about recognition. It's also the motivator. Like the reason you also do it is you're trying to motivate people to not feel negative about what it is you're asking them to do. Like, hey, can you help me out? I'll even say, can you help me out? Can you, help me with XYZ? And she will jump in, no questions asked. She's like, yep, I'll do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And we, to Maria's point, we also try to go kind of above and beyond, and thank for like the emotional energy and support that you're also getting from everyone around you, right? Like we're all a part of a team. Like your family is a team, your work is a team, you have communities all around you. And the truth is that, things happen as cogs, in a gear, so to say, so if somebody's cog stops working or the link is broken, that affects all the rest of us. And so it is about the working hard. It's also about like the cooperation and the understanding and the patience that it sometimes takes. Right. Mm-hmm. So, there are times when, like Brandon, for instance, in our household, his job is our dishes. Brandon does dishes for all of us, for a household of 7 to 8, depending on, who else is here every single day.
Come,
Yeah, he's really good. But, he is so locked in on this that he also has started to give praise. So like if he sees Breland, the 7-year-old rinse her dish, he will say, hey, Bree, thank you for doing that. That makes my job so much easier.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah. Right. So like, because we've modeled that, but we all talk about like, this is cooperation, like, so if you guys want me to take you somewhere, here's the shit I have to get done before we can get out of the house, so I'm willing to do the cooking, because you guys need to be fed, but who's going to do these things? Right. And they'll say, okay, I'll do that. And then we're all a team. And then when we're pulling out of that driveway, we're like, okay, we did it, guys. We got that all done. Look, we're almost on time. We're so close to being on time. Thank you for doing all that stuff so that we could maybe make it on time somewhere.
It's a lot of people, I'm sure, to bring together, but it just cracked me up. You're like, we're almost on time.
Right. Yeah. Right. And this is true. And we're all like, yay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that the study also talked about from an employee perspective is also absenteeism, is that recognition also can decrease absenteeism by 22%. So think about those types of things in people showing up. And when they don't show up, how that makes things more difficult. And it really is because it's impacting the mental health. Like when you are not feeling like you're appreciated, your mental health, it's impacting your mental health. And so like, I don't want to go to work today.
Right.
Because I just can't deal with what it is that's going on. And that's why absenteeism increases when recognition isn't there. The other thing that it impacts is workplace safety. We don't really have this as much on our side of the house on professional on the professional services side, but construction, so a lot of times people will, do things that impact, well, that's someone else's problem, so it's that type of approach, or, nobody's going to notice and they cut corners on things.
Mhm.
And so it's that type of thing that can really impact sometimes the safety of things. And you'll see that in construction.
Yeah.
Workplace safety is super important there. Well, one of the best ways that you can increase workplace safety is to have people recognized for taking care of each other. And
Right.
we do that in different ways. Like when people are sick, we're like, why are you here? Or
Right.
like when people were dealing with hurricanes, we're like, hey, like stop fucking working and go take care of yourself.
Right.
Those types of things.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think, so, safety is physical safety. It also can be like emotional safety, and just knowing that someone has your back when you need it. But 22%, I mean, that's nothing to sniff at. That's a significant amount of absenteeism, right? I mean, if the people that reported to me were gone 20% of the time, I would be like, that's a fucking problem. Like we can't get our stuff done. So, in one frame, we can say this is an easy way to fix it, or to address it, is to make sure that recognition and the positive feelings and the feeling good about your work and the way you're collaborating with everyone is always kind of there. It's a consistent thing, because that's going to make you want to show up. It's going to make you want to be more productive. Mm-hmm. And, that is good for everything, right? That's good for your self-esteem, and that's good for the bottom line.
Yeah.
So, 22% is huge though. Oof.
It is. And especially when you start to calculate the number of hours that people miss and the productivity that is lost, and the larger the firm, the more significant that amount can be.
Right.
Recognize Divine. And Divine, when I first read this, I thought it said "My Lava Ladies."
Like a lava lamp.
I appreciate you both. And then she said, exactly, recognition and admiration needs internal and external inspiration.
Right.
And that's also one of the things, that's why we also recognize you guys, is because people want to feel seen and feel heard. And so even on this show, it demonstrates like people want to have their thoughts recognized.
Yeah, appreciate it. I legitimately think that, like, I'm grateful, because this is hard to do without interaction,
Exactly.
Right? It's hard to just listen to yourself talk, right? And when people are interacting, it becomes easier. It becomes more insightful. It also lets us know that we're hitting the mark, mm-hmm. and that, what we're doing is beneficial to folks. So, and so I think thinking about all the little things and not taking them for granted, right? So, like, back to Maria's point, thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your patience. Yeah. Thinking about, instead of feeling bad about being human, maybe you were late to something. Maybe you got an email out a little later than you intended, or, there was a delay in something that really wasn't your fault. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, mm-hmm. for this, what you really want to do probably is just thank them for their patience, thank them for understanding, thank them for seeing that, I forgot those attachments on that really important email. Like, I did that 3 times this week. I don't know why, but people would reply back and be like I did it once to you, like, well, there's no attachment. And I'm like,
you were like, see attached. And I was like, okay, was there supposed to be an attachment here? You're like,
right. Yeah, so sorry. Silly me, and, rather than being like feeling bad about those moments, because they all happen, whether it's, and, just thanking yourself or thanking that person for pointing it out, like, good catch. Thank you.
And I think about this even with our clients, because we ask for feedback. And one of the criteria that we have is people are able to score us from, basically 0 to 7. And what we tell people is it's not about the number. It's not like the car salesman that's like, I'd really appreciate the 5, like we don't care necessarily about the numbers. What we care about is the follow-up and the recognition. We said, even if the person gives you good feedback, if the person gives you negative feedback, whatever the feedback is, you recognize them.
They took the time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to provide us feedback. And the reason why that's important is that we want to encourage people to give us insight in how it is we're doing. And if we don't recognize them for doing it, they won't fucking do it anymore. And if we say we want a 5, we're really not asking for genuine feedback either.
Right.
And so the recognition even to our clients for their feedback and for the things that they do, and how can we help celebrate you as well. So even when people give us things that we use as quotes and things like that, like we want to recognize you, like, that's also a part of it. We want to recognize you and the amazing job you guys did, the things that you did that were critical for your company. So it's also recognizing them in the same breath.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%. I'll tell a couple of different scenarios that are kind of maybe that don't come top of mind when you think about thanking clients for feedback or thanking clients in different ways, as you were interacting with them. So the first thing I'll say is that when feedback is critical or even negative, I believe it's even more important to thank the person that's delivering that, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to tell someone something critical, right? Mm-hmm. Or to say like, hey, this could have been handled better, and here's why, right? So I gotta go out of my way and like, thank you, because I know that there are times when my actions may cause, someone to have a negative feedback situation, or, and I don't know. They don't take the time to let me know. So how am I supposed to fix it if I don't know, right?
Kate's really good at this. She will say, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Things like that let them know, I appreciate you taking the time to bring this to light.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing I do, so a lot of my role is sales, right? So I'm interacting with people. And when I see something that is unique, or that someone is really doing a good job of advocating for their company or themselves, I will take the time to recognize them, and I'll say like, you did a heck of a good job creating these requirements. I want you to know that I speak to people all day long, and oftentimes they aren't thought out nearly as well as what you're doing. And I mean that genuinely, because they make my job easier if I know exactly what they want, right? But I also just respect it, and I know that it can sometimes be a thankless thing. Like if you're out looking for a vendor, you're out looking at software, like no one's going to say like, holy shit, you did a really good job trying to, come up with that criteria. But it takes a lot of effort, and strategy to do that well. And I like to take the opportunities to thank them when I notice something that I think they did that's above and beyond. Like, wow, you really get change management. And I love that you are taking the time to invest so much energy into making sure that we are all aligned, so that not only are you going to get what you want, you're setting us up to be even more successful in delivering that. And that's going to be, we all have a better chance of having a win-win when, that scenario is unfolding.
Yeah, you're really good at that. And you recognize a lot of different things, even just like people bringing the right people on board. I really appreciate that you guys understand the importance of making sure that we have all groups represented, like something small like that, but it's a significant, we know it's a significant thing. And I love that you highlight that when you talk to clients as you're working with them, because one, it helps them to understand what it is, like why this is important. Hey, I recognize you're doing this, but I also want you to know, like, that's going to really help the overall project.
Right.
And I want to say hello to Jennifer. So she has a couple of comments coming in. She said, "Good morning, sunshine and sunlight." Oh, wait a minute. Wait, who's sunshine and who's sunlight?
My aunt that
I'm
just moved.
Take sunlight, and you can take sunshine. I don't know.
Okay, that's what I want, because my aunt, Tia, she moved out, which her nickname for me was Sunshine, and then she did buy me a cup once that said, "I'm a fucking ray of sunshine" or something, which I thought was really funny.
I'm gonna do sunlight because it's the shadow side coming into the light.
Yes, I agree. I love it.
All right. And she also says, feedback is letting people know I see you. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she added, we have to be willing to take all feedback when we ask, not just what makes us feel good.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And then people are starving for feedback. We have to pay attention and help people understand how to ask for it. Kudos at Cate. So, yes. Oh,
I had a
sunshine.
Yes, yeah. Xavier has a pattern of coming in every morning when he wakes up to say good morning, and so he's also been trying to go to bed earlier so he can wake up earlier, because he is very passionate about basketball right now, and he's realized that he needs more daylight to play basketball.
All right. Well, I have a question for the audience.
Good.
So, does gratitude in your organization feel genuine? Because for Cate and I, as we started to talk about recognition, one of the things that can be a negative aspect of recognition is when people overdo it and it doesn't come across as genuine. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the negative aspects of recognition, or things that people need to keep in mind. But we want to understand from the group that's here, does gratitude in your organization feel genuine? And so, Cate, what would you say about our organization in gratitude and being genuine?
Yeah, so I think we kind of cover all the bases in a lot of ways. So I have noticed that, for instance, when you give me feedback, I feel it's extremely genuine, because it's sometimes random, and it's like when you really are feeling it, you give it to me, right? So, and I can tell just the way that it's delivered makes me feel really good, and I know that it's coming from your heart, like just in the way that you're describing how it makes you feel and how it helps everyone around us. So I think you do an excellent job of that, and being one of the partners in the firm, that's top down. So I think we are modeling ourselves after what you are giving us. I do think we also give a platform for others to recognize each other, like both on the water cooler page, but also in our quarterly meetings. And I think that helps our seller doers and our consultants think about, okay, like who made an impact for me this last quarter that I need to do an extra shout out for, because, it really helped me. And I can remember, I think it was last year, but I took an extra opportunity to thank someone whose role, she doesn't report to me, but a lot of the work that she does supports my efforts and my team's efforts, right? Yeah. And so I went out of the way to thank her, and she came back and thanked me for it. She was like, I feel like I haven't been thanked for that type of support before, like I've gotten a lot of good jobs and this is really beneficial, but like I just really appreciated that you took the opportunity to thank me. And that felt good. And I loved that we have the environment that it kind of allows for that, and where, that doesn't come across as awkward, or, and it's truly genuine. So, let us know if you feel like that, because as we were reviewing these numbers and thinking about this from a bottom line perspective, like when you wrap numbers and statistics around something, as a leader, it's like, oh, okay, now I understand the impact. I need to do it more, right? I need to make sure that everyone's feeling recognized each and every week, because I know that can make an impact on everything, their absenteeism, their productivity. Like, now I have those numbers. There's still, it's, you have to translate that to a place of authenticity. You can't just take those numbers and say to yourself, well, I'm going to figure, I have to, it's another thing on my to-do list. Right. Did I tell Kate she did something well this week?
Right.
That won't work. You have to literally believe it, because people will feel it differently if it's not coming from a genuine place.
Yeah. I think for me, there's a difference between the checkbox of, oh, I need to do it, versus having it be top of mind. There's a difference between the two. So for me, I'm constantly trying to ask myself, am I being grateful for the people that are helping me? And how can I make sure that people are feeling that recognition? And so there's also the favoritism that you have to be careful about as well. Like, I love Kate, and everybody knows I love Kate. But if I'm constantly giving Kate praise and not giving other people as much praise, or I'm excluding other people, or people are feeling an inequality in recognition, then that also can help demote them as well. So you have to think about the things that people are doing. So for me, it's about top of mind. Like, am I being grateful for, like what happened this week? So it's that type of question. What has happened this week that I need to make sure that people know that I appreciate them? So coming from an actual place of genuine, instead of, oh, did I thank Kate this week? Did I thank Joel? That type of thing. So I think that's sometimes the difference between the favoritism, the exclusion of, people, as well as the, making sure that it's genuine as well.
Yeah. Maria makes a really interesting point that I kind of want to
this one
highlight, because I run into this a little bit, because I am fairly positive, especially in my work, because it's a big part of my life. Right. And I worry sometimes that people just feel like, oh, that's Kate, she just loves everything. She's constantly, saying positive things. And that's okay. But it is, it's just, I relate to what you're saying, Maria, because sometimes, it does feel like, people may, think that it's just, like they may diminish the importance of it because it's coming from someone who delivers it often.
I don't know. I don't personally feel that way, just because it's like your personality, like it's who you are. So for me, it comes across as genuine just because you just love everybody. Right. And so, and I think that that's sometimes the difference. Everybody's like, oh, Kate's so, I love Kate. Kate just loves everybody. That's just her personality. Right. She's going to recognize you. And I think with me, it's like, Sarah's a little bit more selective. Yes. And I know that if she tells me something, she really means it. Right. And so, but I think that balance is good. Like, you have to have all of those different types of people. Because you need people that are like, you are the girl that, like pumps everybody up. You are like the cheerleader. Right. And then I'm the get real type of person in a lot of ways. Like, I'm going to give you genuine feedback, whether it's negative or whether it's positive. And so people know that if they get something from me and I'm telling them, you need, I hope you're proud of yourself. And that's one of the other things that I think
that you do a good job of. You see.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is important is I never tell people I'm proud of them. And the reason why I don't even do this with my daughter is because I flip it. I say, I hope you're proud of yourself. And the reason that that is important to me is that I don't want people to be dependent on my recognition.
Right.
They need to start to feel it themselves and make sure that they're building themselves up in what it is that they're feeling. Like they need to start recognizing that they're amazing. I'm going to point those things out. I hope you're proud that you of yourself for doing XYZ, whatever it is. But that's something they need to start recognizing within themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And if you point that out and help them build that skill, right? Then they'll be better for it in the long run. And so it's especially helpful with our kiddos, right? But I think it can go a long way with our colleagues as well. And just thanking them, but also adding on an extra touch is like, I'm proud of you for doing that. I hope you feel some pride too, like, because this is awesome and you worked hard and you achieved it. And, I think you should be proud of it. So I hope that you have that feeling.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to pull up a couple more comments. So Jennifer said, I spend a lot of time finding those people that may be overlooked and intentionally stand back and let others shine. Then I highlight them. And I think that that's amazing. I've noticed that about Jennifer. She's really, really good at helping to highlight people that may sit in the back. And I'd be curious, Jennifer, one of the things that we also have recognized as we deal with recognition internally is that sometimes we also have introverts. And so it's also understanding how people want that type of recognition, because sometimes the introverts don't like it publicly. So one of the things that I try to do with each of my employees is to understand what they're like what are, should I be giving them like one-on-one type feedback? Do they get uncomfortable with the public, side of it? So maybe I limit it, but I'm going more direct to them. So the type of feedback you give to people, I think also needs to be specific to them as well. So I'd be curious what your thoughts are there. And then Divine had some comments. Genuine love flows effortlessly for me. And she also said, yes, we are, plus action show as well. And then Maria said, I also don't give out many general thank yous. They are specific. I like that.
I find that's important too. I try to do that too. I mean, and I try to just to say every once in a while, like, God, I love this team. Thank you. But at the same time, it's super important to be specific and to thank someone for exactly what you felt benefited, like where they added value in your life or your work.
Yeah. Some of the other areas that I think are also important when you're doing recognition is when you are neglecting performance issues. Sometimes people really get in feedback, because this is recognition and feedback sort of go hand in hand. Sometimes people will praise people on things, but then also not address things that people need to work on. So like when you get to that time where you're giving an evaluation on the person or you're checking in, we try to do it on a quarterly basis. How are we doing? That type of thing. When you omit the things that they also need to work on and all they're hearing is praise, that comes as a surprise. Wow, I had no idea this was going on. And this is one of the things that we do also have to be mindful of and aware of, because sometimes giving that critical feedback to people is uncomfortable. So I think that that's also something. Recognition is important. So is direct feedback and performance issues as well. Right.
And I can see some of the folks in our organization that struggle with that a little bit. It's uncomfortable, right, to give that negative feedback. And it's also, there's a whole kind of school of thought around, building people up from their strengths, which I totally understand. But at the end of the day, people want more strengths, right? Like I want to have as many skills as I can possibly have. So because I truly believe that the purpose of life is to grow and learn, and so for me, I love to hear the feedback, and I will often ask for it after a meeting. Like if someone was in a meeting with me, I will say, hey, is there anything that you think that I could have done differently, or could just even toss it out to me, because I just love different perspectives and I'm always trying to grow. So I think that's a different topic that we haven't really talked about either, is like kind of asking for feedback or asking for, I'm not looking for recognition when I ask for feedback. I'm literally looking for, how can I take this to the next level? Where's my come up? Where am I going next? And how can I do this even better? Yeah. So, and a lot of times it does come with recognition, so some of my colleagues are like, I don't think there was anything you could have done better. That was freaking awesome. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you. And, but next time, try to come to the next time you're watching a show, watching me do something, see if you can kind of come up with anything that I could do better. I really want to know. I'm sure there's places where I could improve, and that's part of what I love so much about the way you give feedback. I know that you adore, my work, but I also know that you and I have an understanding of the areas that I need to focus on and work on. Yeah. And, that makes it more well-rounded and more genuine, because it's all true. We all have areas that we're not as strong in. And if you get this sense that your manager is just your cheerleader, then you're not really being supported to grow.
I love what Divine just said. Too much praise can turn into love bombing. And I feel we need a balance of praise and growth support. I will also say that as leaders, we also need to allow space for the people that are reporting to us to give us feedback.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think that some people still don't always feel comfortable with that. Cate and I definitely have that reciprocal, even though she reports to me. In a lot of ways, we're really peers. I don't really see her as, someone that's necessarily reporting to me, because she feels so comfortable coming to me going, hey, I want to give you some feedback. I have some concerns. And so then we talk through them, and we work through them. I'm like, okay, let me let me better understand what it is that you're saying and why it is that this is so important. And then I will go, okay, I'm hearing you. This is what I'm hearing. Here's now the concerns that I have, so you can understand the fuller picture of what I'm also seeing. Right. And so we go back and we figure out the best way to actually approach something, and in how it is we're going to address things. But I love that we're able to have that, me being very open with her, like, here's where I'm feeling, or here's how I'm seeing the situation, and she's able to do the same with me.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it can be seen as challenging, right? But it can also be seen as like a mutual support and understanding. Like, I need to tell you this because I'm concerned. And if you're able to help me clarify some things and get rid of some of that concern, that's huge. And you have to have the safe feelings in order to do that, right?
Yes.
So
I'm going to go back to one of the questions I had asked Jennifer. She said, I am an introvert, so I try to pay attention to their nonverbal cues. Yeah. Is it inherent that we want to matter? So I find what works best for them. I think the challenge that we have is we don't always get to see the nonverbal cues because we're virtual. So we have to physically ask people.
Yes.
Because unless that person comes on camera, I don't see any nonverbal cues. I have to try to pick it up in the things they might say or the things they may not say. In like, if we give them a public thank you or recognition, do they actually come back and thank other people for the feedback, or are they relatively quiet? Maybe maybe those are the cues that
Right.
that person doesn't really like it, or even just asking them how it is that they like feedback. So in person, yes, those, I love the nonverbal cues. Like, I'll pick up on little things, but
Mhm.
people have to be on video for me to be able to pick them up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a super important aspect, right? So I think there are those of us that are really good, like Jennifer is really good because she is an introvert, and she understands what other introverted people might be going through, right? For those of us that are extroverts, I think a lot of times we don't really get it at times, but we're those of us that want to get better at this. I think, one way you can do that, and one tool you can use, is to just ask, and then keep in mind that people change, right? So, like, what felt good to me 5 years ago might not feel good to me now. And as a manager, if I have a long-term employee that's worked for me for multiple years, I need to check in. I need to say, okay, when I interviewed you, when I hired you, you told me you like to learn like this. And you told me this is how you want, like, these are the things that, like, make you feel good. Are those still true? Or after you've learned what it's like to work here, has that evolved? Or have you changed? Those are things to think about too, because as managers, we have to sometimes compartmentalize a little, but that can be dangerous in the world of recognition and feedback.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up, I want to ask another question to the audience, and I want to ask this of you and then have me answer as well. So what type of recognition do you prefer? And so I want to hear from the audience on the type of recognition that they prefer. Cate, when you think about that for yourself, what's the type of recognition that you prefer?
I think I do. If I'm honest with myself, I think I prefer the public recognition, but I also really, really appreciate the trusting one-on-one conversations, especially because I can probe, like, a little bit and really understand it. Mm-hmm. So I think I see value in both, but I think it's sometimes nice for other people that may not be as familiar with my work than to hear that, to hear that recognition, and to then understand and kind of be able to kind of place me in a different sense of, or a different light maybe. And for me, I like to see, because I don't intimately work with everyone, right? Like, we have multiple departments. So I don't know how kick-ass someone is really at their job if I don't hear the public recognition. So for me, I like it because it gives me a better understanding of what people do, right? So if somebody says, holy shit, Raina, like, the way that you helped manage that project really allowed me to shine and do my work and take this client to the next level. Like, for me, as I'm selling these services, it's really important for me to understand, like, okay, yeah, project management can make such a difference. And, so I need to kind of understand how it all fits together. And so that's the other reason why I really like public recognition, is because it exposes more things in the organization and gives us better options to collaborate because of that knowledge.
Yeah. So I'm going to pull up what Jennifer said. She said one-on-one recognition is what fuels her progress.
And is that because it's more personal, or is it because you're introverted and you don't like it, like the public acknowledges, or it might embarrass you, and I'm am interested to know more.
Oh, and Maya brings up a good one, because learning people's love language is also one of the things we did internally as well. She said, I'm definitely a words of affirmation, one-on-one variety. I feel most seen in that way. And I think my preference translates into the way I like to give recognition too. Now that I'm thinking about it, I love to surprise someone with a nudge to let them know I see them when they really wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said that it's because it's more genuine.
Right. It feels more authentic.
Yeah. And she said, Jennifer Lacey, agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys think about how you feel when you see people publicly recognized? I think that's an interesting take on this. Like, so for me in an organization, it gives me some knowledge that I didn't have. So I like it, you know, I like to know that so-and-so is really kicking ass at programming, you know, like I don't know what they're doing, you know, day in and day out, but I know that their colleagues are saying like, holy crap, what you did was awesome. And that helps me understand how we all fit together.
Yeah. I like to see, for me, I really like seeing people just excelling and seeing people being their best version of themselves. Right. And just, that's what I love the most. So for me, it's recognizing that people are growing and that they're becoming their more authentic self. That's what I love the most. And so for me, I really love seeing how it is that what it is people are really good at, to then also enhance and help them. Like, oh, you know, so I hear you're really good at this. I got this, you know, project going on, you know, that type of thing. So it's also understanding, is this something you're also passionate about? Is this something you really enjoy doing as well? So I'll ask that additional question as well. Carmen said, I love to see recognition.
Yeah, it feels good, right? It's nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about recognition, for me, the type of recognition that that I like getting recognition that I'm helping people, that people feel that I'm helping to support them.
Right.
I will say, as a leader, and Kate knows this about me, is that people see me as a particular thing. They see me as very strong, very confident, and therefore most people don't give me recognition, because they see that I'm giving it to myself, basically.
Yeah, you're like, she doesn't need that. Look at her.
Yeah. And so I want to sort of point that out, because the strong people in your life also need recognition to know that they're on the right path, at least the things that you feel like they're doing well. And Kate really does a good job of that. She helps me feel seen within the company. Mm-hmm. And I will also share that I don't feel seen by my partners. And for me, that's sad. And I think it's also because they think I don't need to feel seen. And so I have other people within my company that see me, and I try to recognize them and what it is, the things when they're excelling. But I wonder sometimes if they don't give it to me just because they see me as confident and therefore not needing that type of recognition. But I've always felt that way.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think that is, I think you get pigeonholed a little bit, and it bums me out too, because you're working super hard at all times. And even though you do that with such confidence and strength, it's still hard work. It's not, you know, just because you deliver it with confidence and strength doesn't mean that it's not a lot of energy for you, that it's not a lot, you know. So I wish you felt that in leadership more. I do know that.
I think sometimes people also do things that they also need themselves. That's one of the things, you know, even the depth psychologist told me, is that sometimes people that need recognition will give recognition because they know the value, and it's other things as well. So like we do certain things, like the feedback, you know, when we give feedback, it's also because we want feedback. So like we mirror things that we want as well.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's perfectly okay to then share. And I know that you probably have, I can't imagine you haven't, you know, shared with folks and said, you know, I'm not feeling appreciated. I don't like, you know, it's not there. And that sucks, you know, because I put a lot of effort into it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think you're modeling that. And I think for your department, you know, those that report directly to you see that and value it and share it with you. You know, I've seen them do it like, holy shit, you really helped me grow. Or,
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, right.
I mean, the thing is I know the value that I bring.
Right.
So I don't let it bring me down. I just continue forward, being genuine in, you know, I want the best for everyone.
Right.
I also want the best for me.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're a part of everyone.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to go to a couple of comments. So Jennifer, within my firm, I am the person that has contact with every team member, project, and department. I feel it is my responsibility to help our leaders see and acknowledge, because they are not in a space to see it from the bird's eye view. I love that they have that type of role, Jennifer, and you're the perfect person for that. As I've continued to get to know Jennifer more and more, she's really just has an amazing way of helping people feel seen. Cate, I really feel like you're that type of person internally for us in a lot of ways too. So.
Right. And I get to do that a little bit in my role because I am in charge of customer feedback. So that kind of touches a lot of different people. But in general, you know, I carry that because I love the people we work with. I love what they bring to the table. And I think that everyone else needs to see that, you know, and that person needs to see that too. Like, your work here matters.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Jennifer is so wonderful at, clearly. And what a gift.
Yes. Might also add, yes, it's awesome to see when people are appreciated for what they contribute to a team. Also, it can be a great way to drive others to doing their best, knowing the efforts are valued. I think there's also a cautionary there as well on when we give feedback. Sometimes it also adds pressure for others to perform, and that can be a double-edged sword. Like, one, it can help people to elevate and go, ooh, you know, that's awesome. It can also be a deterrent as well, because if people think that they can't achieve to the level of someone else, you know, it's getting them. And that's why I think it's important to recognize people for their talents and their strengths. Because I've told this before, I think I've told this before here. I had an employee that came to me and said, I just don't think I'm ever going to be on the level of where this consultant's at. And I'm like, well, for what it is that they're good at, like, you have to figure out your type of thing. And that's one of the things that I think I'm really good at, is finding everyone's unique talent in what it is to excel at. Like, don't be like me, be like you. You know, we already have a me. You know, we need someone to counterbalance, you know, the other aspects of the other team. And that's one of the things that I love, is finding the things that people are really good at. I'm actually mentoring someone right now outside of our company. And one of the things that she had mentioned is that she was chosen to be a part of to start to become a part of the management side of the house. But one of the challenges that she has is that she's not as good off the cuff as the person that she's going to be basically taking over, because the other person's going to be on maternity leave. And I was like, okay, that's okay. Like, if you're the type of person that needs time to think about it, just let them know that. what they will also see is after you come back, you will have thought through in detail the things that you're that they wouldn't have thought about that by off the cuff. So they'll see the strength that you have that maybe you can't come off the cuff, but you're going to come back with all of the further details and much more well thought out in detail, things that maybe that person off the cuff wouldn't have done. So it's finding what you are good at and then excelling at that, and being okay with not being like that other person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we have in our team, we have a lot of complementary skills, right? Which I think, you did very intentionally, which I think is a great way for managers to manage, is to find people to work with you or under you that bring something to the table that you don't have. So, I'm really good on my feet. I'm really good off the cuff, right? Yeah. But I'm not so good with the details, and then we have, Joel, who is so good with the details. What I love about what Joel does and brings to the table is he tells us that, like, he reminds us on a regular basis, like, I need some time to process this. Let me come back to you. And, that gives us space, to wait. And, and then, he comes back with something he's really confident in because he's put the time in to think it through. And then on top of it, it's got all these beautiful details that we didn't have, that we didn't think of. We had the strategy and the big idea. Mm-hmm. And here it comes with, okay, let's break this down into the tactics, and that's super beneficial.
Yeah. And that's why it's important that people are put in the positions that allow them to excel.
Right.
And also work on maybe the things they also need to tweak or get better, but it's celebrating those differences. And that ultimately is what recognition is about. And so if we think about the things, if we sort of sum up the things that we've talked about today, it's about making sure that the feedback is fulfilling, that it feels appropriate for the accomplishment, that it's genuine. We're being authentic. It's not some type of formality of just prescribed, we got to give the feedback. It's personalized. We're making sure that the person wants to be recognized and how they want to be recognized. We're also looking at the distribution or how equitable is the feedback. So is it about achievement, not about favoritism? And then ultimately the most important thing is it embedded in your culture? Is it a part of your values and your practices throughout the organization?
Right.
And that's really where it has to be top down. And then it's important that it starts to filter back up, that it's bottom up as well.
Right. Exactly. So every organization needs a Jennifer Lacey, right? Whether it's a small or big, because it's a human inherency, like what Jennifer said. It's inherent that we all want to matter and we all want to be seen. Maybe we don't want to be seen by 100 million people, but we still want to be seen, in whatever microcosmic way, and to know that our work is mattering. So I think, everything that you just said in summation is kind of perfect in terms of, the things to think about when you are helping yourself matter and making sure that others feel that they matter too.
Yeah. Well, I want to just thank everyone for coming, and we had such great interaction today. So thank you guys for that. We really do appreciate it. It just helps us. It just adds to the conversation. It just allows us to be able to flow off of the things that you're saying. It also helps us to reflect on things we haven't thought about. So I just want to thank you guys for showing up and giving us the interaction that you give us.
Right. It's like it validates the directions we're going. It helps us relate to you, and it doesn't, it makes it feel way less lonely doing this, right? Because we're really doing this to help, just one person, if at a minimum, but getting the feedback and the interaction, gives us the direction, and feels damn good.
Yes. All right. So next week, we are going to be doing. It's actually a good question. So next week on the 8th, we do not have anything really planned. We've talked about some different topics, what we might do, and I wanted to see what the audience thinks that we should consider. We've talked about doing maybe things on celebration. And the reason I was thinking about celebrating milestones or celebrating different types of things is because I'm going to be celebrating my 50th birthday on the 9th, and I'm having a party, a big party. And so I was thinking about maybe a shooting the shit type of episode, maybe talking about celebration, how we celebrate each other. We were talking about also potentially doing like a life of fulfillment, and the path to fulfillment. And so I don't know. I wanted to see what you guys think we should talk about. Maybe Kate and I should just talk about, just do a shooting the shit. Maybe we should bring some people on and just have some fun. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Here's the other thing that I have forgotten to mention. I mean, I've mentioned it, but we haven't talked about it in this context, is that I'm going to be traveling because I'm going to be on my way.
Oh, that's right.
To your party. So we should, I think we should do an audio and then that is a great way to give everyone else, an opportunity to speak too, because we can just bring them onto the stage. So, I'd love to do any one of those topics as an audio next week.
Okay. We could do an audio, or we could do a private Zoom. That's what Divine did this week. So I guess, we'd love to hear from you guys. Just message us. Let us know, whether you would like to do an audio and us just chat about different topics, or whether we should just do a private Zoom. So, we'd love to just hear what you guys think.
Yeah.
And so Carmen said, thank you both. I love starting my day with you two badass women. And I get to see Carmen. Carmen's going to be at the party. So Carmen and her twin, Myra.
I love this. I'm so excited.
I know.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be a blast. Do have a photographer coming. So we'll put together photos and everything like that. Someone said they're probably going to video. I actually will be singing at my party. They're supposed to be learning some songs. So some they know, some they don't. So I'm going to be singing on stage with them.
Oh, so fun. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to see all of it. I'm super excited. I need to figure out what I'm going to wear costume wise or just outfit wise, basically I always wear a shirt and leggings. So I just need to figure out what shirt to wear.
Maria says, hopping back in from a meeting, but I vote Zoom for faces. Having cameras off is a choice too.
Yeah. Okay.
And so maybe we just do a private Zoom, and therefore I don't know if you'll be in your car.
I shouldn't, because we'll be in Union. So Jenna is getting, she's training and studying QHHT.
Yes.
And she'll actually be getting a QHHT session.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be in a hotel somewhere.
Okay. Well, then next week we won't be live. But we will, maybe I'll do like a registration. So anybody that wants to attend, we will just do a Zoom, and then you guys can join. Yeah.
Unless more votes come back for audio, but I'm happy to do either. And, even if I have to be off camera for a little bit, whatever works, I'm excited to just interact with you guys. And I think Zoom or audio allows for that. And Maria's got a great point about being able to see people's faces.
Yeah. Keep in mind that I can also do, we're limited in the number of people that we can have up with, I think with the live stream, because we also have one where we can have it be an event. But that I'll just go ahead and do it soon. I'm talking aloud.
No problem.
All right. Well, I appreciate everyone. We look forward to whatever it is we do next weekend. And I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend and have a great badass Monday as well that'll be coming up. And again, we really appreciate you guys.
Yep, ditto. Thank you all. Thanks for being badasses.